Picture it, Los Angeles, 2024.
Welcome to Out on the Lanai, the only Golden Girls podcast, and I said only, you're ever going to need to listen to. I am HAlanScott / the Sadie Pines.
I'm Kerri Doherty, and today we're doing another Beyond Golden Girls episode where we cover the many film and TV projects that the women did outside of the Golden Girls during the course of their illustrious careers. And this week, instead of watching, we were actually listening to Bea Arthur's one-woman Broadway show, Just Between Friends, which ran in 2002 and was nominated for a Tony Award for Best Special Theatrical Event.
Yep.
So Bea Arthur obviously does a lot of singing in this show, which perfectly lines up with what's going on in the GGVIP Club this week. I know, we're very, very excited.
And on this episode, too.
And on this episode, yes, of course. So later in this episode, and even more in the Rusty Anchor Happy Hour this week, we are chatting with Luke McQuillan, who you've definitely seen on Instagram, TikTok, singing Chapel Roan covers, Taylor Swift covers as Bea Arthur. I don't think I have ever heard someone nail Bea Arthur's singing voice as good as he does.
Can I just make a case before we get to our other business that Luke is fantastic. If you're listening to this podcast, you know that you are a part of this wonderful, beautiful GG community. And we are a loving, welcoming community. We love lots of newbies coming in. I mean, Luke is not new. He's been around for a long time. He's loving the Golden Girls for a minute. But we love when sort of like a new voice enters the villa, if you will, and really sort of, kind of surprises. It's sort of like when Aaron did the gospel cover. There's sort of an element of like something different, Golden Girls, and Luke has that vibe to him where he's doing something different and fun and modern and modern, but yet not modern and interesting. And it's just sort of a breath of fresh air. So I'm really glad that Luke can be on the podcast, and I insist on you taking out your phone if you're in a safe location and pressing that follow button for Luke immediately.
Yes, I agree. And I also think it's very funny that you likened him to a bombshell coming into the villa on Love Island, which I'm like, is this that audience?
You know why that's in my head? You know why that's in my head? Because I'm going to get my hair colored sometime soon. And I was thinking I could do a video with that audio with me unveiling my new hair with that audio. Yeah.
Of when they walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good. Do a slow-mo and then whip your hair.
Yeah.
You can't even see my hair. My ponytail hides behind my head.
Yeah, it's a hidden pony.
Wow, what a great chat with Luke. We're going to play some of it in this episode. And then, like I said, if you are in the GG VIP Club at either the $5 or $8 a month, you can hear even more about our chat, where he actually makes a very good argument for anybody who ever says Bea Arthur is not a good singer.
Which I will fight you on to the end.
But he makes the most, scientific, he gives the most objective rebuttal to such a foolish thing that somebody could say that Bea Arthur is not a good singer. So you can check that out. He does some singing for us, which is amazing.
If you love Bea Arthur, which why would you be here if you didn't? But if you love Bea Arthur, this is definitely your episode. We had a comment on our, I think it was YouTube, that I randomly saw. I rarely look at any comments because people say mean things to me. But I saw that someone said that we give priority to Rue McClanahan stuff. On the we tend to lean more Rue McClanahan. I think I do sometimes personally, but
in terms of when we do Beyond Golden Girls episodes,
that we lean towards Rue. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that person might be projecting, but this episode is a clear example that we love Bea Arthur. I think it's pretty clear how much we love Bea Arthur.
I will say, I think lately we have leaned more into Rue and Betty.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been a second since we've done a Bea Arthur project.
I also think that because when we're doing Beyond Golden Girls episodes, which this is obviously a Beyond Golden Girls episodes, Rue and Betty, frankly, worked more. They were out more. They, especially post Golden Girls, they had more work out there. They were actively doing things. Whereas, Bea Arthur was very selective in what she did after the Golden Girls. She didn't do a lot. And even before the Golden Girls, she didn't really do that much. I mean, her IMDb page is, if you look at the numbers, is like a starting actor compared to Betty White. I mean, it's just very minimal. And Estelle Getty is the same. There really was not that much post Golden Girls outside of sitcom episodes that, they did. So I always
And
think
that said,
yeah,
we love all the women and we
yeah.
will be watching all of them.
I don't think anyone would ever say that we don't. I have them tattooed on my body. Thank you.
I know all of them.
All of them.
All of them. So, okay, we do have to talk about. So, you're the one who actually saw this
Yes.
show, as
Yes.
did Luke, which you'll learn in a little while, which is a
Yes.
very, very exciting thing. I need to know, like, we
So-
need to absorb everything. Tell us, fill us in, give us the 411 on the Broadway show.
Well, I mean, it was originally, I believe there was, I mean, obviously there was a touring element show, and I think it was called something different when it was touring. I'm blanking on what it was called when it was touring. And then that came, I don't know what came first, the Broadway show or the touring show. I think the touring show came first, and then they took it to Broadway. I could be wrong on that, so please forgive me. But regardless, Luke and I saw the non-New York versions. I don't know if Luke saw the New York version. But anyway, regardless, they're essentially the same show, and it's just Bea Arthur on stage, barefoot basically, sometimes not, but always flat. And she's telling stories from her illustrious career. And it's just, when you're in the moment, when I was in the moment with it, I honestly, I mean, I remember it, but I also was like, I was sort of like one of those moments of sort of being, I don't remember details. It's like when I met Rue McClanahan. I don't really remember a lot of the details surrounding the night because all I remember is meeting Rue McClanahan. So like, everything gets a little fuzzy. But what I will say is, like, there is sort of that element of, you're in the room with someone who has seen and done everything in a business that, when I was at that time in my life, was so eager to be a part of. And you just kind of soak it up. You know what I mean? You just, I mean, for me, it was like almost scholarly in that, like, I'm just watching someone command a stage in a way that I hope to someday be able to command a stage in the way that I want to perform. And that's what I took from it. And it's just, it's etched in my brain forever.
What I love so much about this is that, Bea Arthur famously was a very private person.
Yes.
And for her to come out on stage in this very intimate setting and tell personal stories about her life and to sing her favorite songs, like, what a great way to top off such an amazing career with this sort of like, I'm going to control the narrative of this look back. I'm going to decide what stories are important to tell. I'm going to sing all of my favorite songs, and I'm going to treat you like you're my friends and I'm having you over for a dinner party. She literally opens as if they're at a dinner party and she's telling them a recipe that of lamb chops.
A really funny recipe of lamb chops, which, I mean, can you imagine being at a dinner party with Bea Arthur?
At Bea Arthur's dinner party.
Oh my God, I would die. I would actually die. Like, I would have a heart attack on the spot. I wouldn't even get to the doorbell because I would die getting out of the car.
Oh my gosh. And then she'd sit at the piano and she would sing.
And she'd probably get a little tipsy from her vodka because we know that she loves her cocktails, especially, and God bless her, because I'd be putting them back with her.
I would be too intimidated to say no.
If she put anything in front of me, I would be like, okay, we're doing this. Like, whatever you say, whatever you want, Bea. Like, I don't even know what this drink is.
Miss Arthur.
I will do this. Yeah, and then she'd get angry at you for calling her Miss Arthur because she's Bea. Call me
I'm
Bea. Yeah.
I love that she ended the show with The Man on the Moon is a Lady.
Yeah.
From Mame. I was really hoping that she would sing Hard-Hearted Hannah because but she sang it on Maude and the Golden Girls. So she liked that song. I was really hoping for Hard-Hearted Hannah.
I wonder if she had to get I doubt she had to get approval, but but she's selling tickets, so maybe she did. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you were doing a stage show,
Yes.
what songs would
Which
you sing?
which we are doing on December 7th, and you can go to our Patreon and get tickets to our live show at the Dynasty Typewriter here in Los Angeles.
Well, we don't have tickets available yet, but you
Well, you
can
can sign
sign
up to
up
get,
to
yes,
be the
yes.
first to know when tickets
That's
are
yes,
available because we
yes.
did sell out last time.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, we were doing that stage show. What a great segue.
Yeah.
But I'm going to bring it back.
Okay.
If you were going to do a stage show about your life, and I know that you don't sing and I know that you don't particularly like music, but are there any songs? Just pretend you're Bea Arthur for a second.
Yeah.
What songs would you sing? Are there any songs that have been important in your life that you're like, oh, this would be sort of my set list?
Yeah. Yes, I know exactly what I would do.
Okay, how many of them are
and-
sitcom theme songs?
and very few. So and let me just correct you here on something. So yes, I don't sing well, but that doesn't mean I don't like to sing.
Okay.
Correction.
Thank you.
So I enjoy the singing moment. It's just that most people don't want to hear it. That doesn't bother me. So I will sing. That said, I would start it off as an entry with doing something funny. You know what I mean? I would start with a funny song. I'd probably go in the Shania Twain "Man, I Feel Like a Woman" direction, because I feel like that can be, you can do things. I can play with that one. And it's in my key, which is, who knows what key that is? I'm sure Luke would know. I don't know, but I'll make it my key. And then I'll pivot into maybe this time from Cabaret. I don't know why it's relevant, but I feel like it'll be an emotional arc in the live show. I don't know why, but I'll make it an emotional arc. And then I will end with a sultry and emotional rendition of Charles in Charge theme song.
I knew there was going to be a theme song. Yes. The Charles in Charge theme song forever since I was like, I feel like in college when this episode came out. This might be a little bit of a deep cut. Do you know the Charles in Charge Family Guy reference?
Oh, I've heard this before, but it's not ringing a bell right now.
It's literally like the quickest cutaway of Peter, and he's supposed to be working security for the Beatles, and he's watching Charles in Charge, and he's like sitting back in the chair, and the theme song is on, and he's like, Charles in Charge. And it's so funny.
My favorite line of that, it's one of my favorite theme songs only because it's actually bad and little bit uncomfortable, because one of the lines in the theme song is, he lives downstairs and it's understood, and it just what does that mean? So I feel like I could do something with that. I could make something of
you
that,
could make something but what does that mean? Like, it's understood that he does not come upstairs because teenage girls live
what
there.
Is he?
Like,
what is he, an ogre? Like, what is, I don't understand. Yeah. What would yours be?
So I think mine would, if we're going kind of chronologically, I would definitely have It's Not Easy from Pete's Dragon, the 1978 with Helen Reddy and the little boy whose name is escaping me. Because when I was young, when I was a kiddo, that was my favorite movie. And when I was pregnant with little Oreo, I'd heard a thing that was like, oh, if you sing to them like the same song over and over again when they're born and you play it for them, it could soothe them when they're upset because they'll recognize it. So I was like, great. So I like pull up the lyrics on my phone. I'm like, this is going to be the song I sing to baby Oreo. Not realizing it's like it's a very long song. So I would like,
you were singing American
lyrics.
Pie, basically.
I was like, basically, yeah, singing American Pie. And I'd be like, it's not easy. Okay, no, now I'm going to do Helen Reddy's part. And I was like, whatever. And then, of course, once she was born, never sang it to her.
Never.
I would probably do, in high school, I played Mitzi the German spy in Over There. So she had a song called Wait for Me, Marlena. It was this like, what is it called? Like not the sailor song, the siren song. It was like a siren song where she like basically like sang and it like hypnotized and intoxicated all the sailors. And I did it with an accent. So I was like, wait for me, Marlena. It was like very deep, which was good for me.
Yeah.
And then I think I would go to my New York days. When I first moved to New York, I was broke. I had no money. My roommates were broke. We had no money. We had no jobs. And while we were looking for jobs, we would come up with ways to entertain each other. So we had this like wild to-do list on our fridge. And one of them is a musician, the other was a theater guy. And we would just write weird things for the other ones to like accomplish. It was like a
Yeah.
checklist of like who can do this batshit crazy thing. One would be like, get a real estate license. One was learn the German version of 99 Red Balloons and sing it at karaoke with the American lyrics pulled up. And I was like, done.
Oh,
And so I learned the German version,
can you still sing it?
memorized it, and then we went to karaoke and I sang it with the American lyrics behind me.
Can you still sing it?
Hast du etwas für mich singen Sie seid für dich von
Wow.
99 Luftballons.
Wow, ich
Auf
liebe
ihrem
dich
Lied
so
zum
viel.
Horizont denkst du vielleicht an Vladimir. There's somebody who's like, your German is shit right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, so and then maybe like something from the Book of Mormon soundtrack, because when we were
why
doing
not?
like IVF egg retrieval, that was like what Stan and I would listen to when he had to like inject me,
Hot.
inject me every day.
Hot. Well, should we talk? I mean, I have no transition from inject me to Bea Arthur just between friends. I'm sorry. That maybe Marsha would come up with a real sex joke here, like from Real Sex
Maybe.
HBO, and then that would be it. But we don't have that, so I think we should take a break and come
Let's
back
just
with
get
a little bit of Bea Arthur just between friends.
I love that after years of playing so many iconic characters, right, on TV, Bea Arthur took on what I believe to be her bravest role of all, which was playing herself.
Honestly, there is nothing more badass. You know, someone has become a megastar in whatever field they're in, if that at the end of their career, everyone wants them to just do a show talking about themselves. Like, it's sort of like the ultimate, like, we need this from you. We need a one last hurrah. And this really was her last hurrah. And we needed that. You know what I mean? We needed this. And it's such a special little nugget that we have that is just on Apple Music. Like, you can stream it everywhere. Like, it's just such a special little thing that we have. And I'm so glad she did it.
Me too. It's like it is such a beautiful just piece of Bea Arthur history that we have. It's so funny. And I highly recommend, I know everybody likes to watch, her mod episodes, the Star Wars holiday special, all those things, but listen to this album. It is so fun, such a great just collection of her stories and songs. And what I think is like so brave about Bea doing this is we've seen in interviews that she says, even though she was incredibly confident on stage, she played very headstrong characters like Maud and Dorothy. She was a shy person. She was private. She was very unsure of herself in real life, and actually we're just going to play one little clip from this. Everybody should listen to it. It's on Spotify. It's on everywhere, Apple Music. But there is a little bit where I just wanted to play it because she quotes the Golden Girls early on in the show.
No, I mean, you all know me because of those assertive women that I played on TV. You know, like emasculating my husband with "God'll get you for that, Walter." Or sending shivers through my mother with the words, "Shady Pines." But I was a very, very shy, very withdrawn child. Possibly because even at age 8, I think I was 5'9.5" in my stocking feet. And with a very deep voice.
Yeah. It's just, and what's great about the listening to it, I mean, obviously I saw it live, but like, even listening to it, you get the sense that she's there with you. She's talking to you. You're a guest. And like you said at the beginning, like she opens it up with talking about food. Like there is this element of and that's what's so great about shows like this when they're done well, is that they're intimate and you feel like you're really there with the person and you're learning something, you're feeling something. And that, to me, that's what I love about live theater in general. I mean, like, even though this wasn't a scripted show, there is like a very much a theater element to it, where you're sitting in this room with all these different people who are fans of this thing or this person or whatever it is, the show, whatever it may be, and you're all experiencing it that night together, and it's unique to you and to that moment, and it's just so goddamn special, and she made it so special.
And you can feel the love from the
Oh
audience,
yeah.
like cheering anytime she mentioned a role that she did.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, she did want to make the audience feel like they were in her living room. The opening line of the show is, "I'd like to talk to you about lamb, specifically leg of."
Yeah.
And then people are laughing, and then she's like, "I like to throw dinner parties. Here's a leg of lamb recipe that I really like." And she goes through she's like, "There's a Julia Child's
Mm-hmm.
rub that goes on the lamb, and there's mustard and rosemary and garlic and olive oil."
Yeah.
And then she goes through all that, and then she's like, "And then I like to make these broiled tomatoes." And they're laughing.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh my God, she's literally going to walk us through an entire dinner's worth of recipes," which, if you're hosting a dinner party and you're bringing meals out, you like to tell your friends, like,
Yeah.
"This is what this is." You're
Yeah.
presenting it. Like,
You know what
it
it
was just
reminds
so
me of?
fun.
Because, like, I mean, obviously, I've done a lot of sort of stand up, and when I don't know if I was influenced by this, I'm sure it had some impact on me. You never really know the major influences that happen in those subtle of ways, but like, whenever I was on stage and I didn't want to do my jokes, or I didn't like, and doing something like this and having it feel informal the way B does is such an art form, because she workshopped this material. This was not just B Arthur casually saying things. She wouldn't do that. This was a workshop show of material, just like a stand-up would do. And for me, I remember I would sometimes, I still do it to this day. I'm better at it now because I can just riff. But like, whenever back in the early days when I needed something, or I wanted to go in a different direction, or I wanted to play with the crowd or test the crowd, I would just talk about the love story between Harry Truman and Bess Truman and how weird and fucked up it was. And it would get laughs because here I am talking about fucking Harry Truman.
I
And
don't know that story.
it's stupid. I won't go into it because it's long, but like, it was similar to B Arthur in the show, because it's a long, the setup for the lamb is long, but like, it's so dumb for someone to do that it's almost genius. It's almost
It's
perfect.
so genius. It's
Yeah.
so funny. I
Yeah.
was like Googling the recipe afterwards.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh shit, that's a real
Yeah.
recipe." I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I want to make mashed potatoes the way that B. Arthur does now." And she was so committed to the bit, and they just kept laughing, thinking it was going to be over.
Yeah.
There was also a moment, she's talking about Fiddler on the Roof,
Mhm.
where, so I guess a young Pia Zadora was in Fiddler on the Roof,
Yeah.
and they make a Pia Zadora joke in the Golden Palace. I think it's,
Well, because Pia Zadora was famously, I mean, she had a thing where she was kind of the reason why the Golden Globes went off the air in like the 80s, because she bought a Golden Globe basically, and she kind of became a joke and then a bad actress and like all of the XYZ. She became a joke of an actress basically.
well, I mean, B. Arthur makes a joke at her expense, but it sounds like she was like maybe a child at this point. But B. Arthur may have stolen a joke from the Golden Girls. I don't know, but so she talks about how she does the I don't know if Pia Zadora's, I'm not saying she's not a bad actress, but when she played Anne Frank in The Diary of Anne Frank at the end of Act 2, the audience stood up and yelled, "She's in the attic." And I was like, wait a minute. Did she just steal a joke from the Golden Girls, or is the "she's in the attic" joke like a public domain joke? Like, why did the chicken cross the road? Is it that common of a joke? I wasn't sure,
Or
but I was like,
maybe it
did
was put
she
in there
steal
as a
it?
reference. Maybe it was put in there as a reference back. Like, that's what's so great about a show like this, is that you have to play off the things that we know of this person and the way in which they communicate. And I mean, I would venture to say that maybe it was an intentional reference. Maybe it was something put in there intentionally,
Maybe, but I was like, hang on when I was
Yeah.
listening.
What
Uh,
There
Go
are
ahead.
some moments. I mean, there's one moment that I think we definitely talk about with Luke. I forget on what, the main or the Patreon, but my favorite story in this bit, because I am such a big Angela Lansbury fan, and I know so many people listening are also massive Angela Lansbury fans. And what I love is when B goes into talking about Angela, obviously referencing their time together on Broadway in Maine, but more so their long friendship that they had together. I mean, they were like tight best friends.
They're bosom
And
buddies.
they were bosom buddies in a literal way. And one of the things that she talks about in her bit in the story is how crass Angela Lansbury actually is. Because you think of Angela Lansbury and she's this, British sort of, even though she didn't really have the accent, she's just very sort of like put together and proper and tea drinking and whatever.
I mean, she played a literal teapot in an animated Disney movie.
So she's very whatever. And
proper.
I like, it sort of reminds me of like with Angela and with Bea Arthur here telling this story of just sort of like, no, she curses like a sailor, and she's sort of bawdy and she's sort of whatever. And that, it just gives you an insight into their friendship and how they became friends,
I was going to ask you, because she says, quote, she describes her as lowbrow, raunchy, and bawdy. And I was like, is Bea Arthur just fucking with us? Or is Angela Lansbury really like that?
I think she is.
That's so funny to me.
So often we perceive these people. I mean, Julie Andrews is a great example. So like Julie Andrews was famously married to Blake Edwards, Pink Panther director, and all those great films. And she had
Pink Arthur. I like
Pink
that
Arthur,
name.
yeah. And she had her toe in sort of like the world of that absurdist comedy for years. But everyone sees Julie Andrews as this sort of like prim and proper and put together,
The Hills
and
Are
Sound
Alive
of
and
Music
Mary
and whatever.
Poppins.
And she was really good friends with Carol Burnett. She did that show a lot. She famously did a lot of sort of like really absurd comedy stuff, and she would do bits on the specials that happened during the 70s and 80s. So like, we like to present these people in these packages in which we see them, and Bea Arthur is a great example of that. We see her as this sort of confident, out there, strong woman who is going to take down everybody and say the thing that needs to be said. But in reality, she's super shy, and she's super reserved, and she's super particular about who she lets into her life. And when she's on stage telling stories like this, it's intentional, but it's also really special because it's so out of her wheelhouse for what who she is personally.
I appreciate. So she didn't talk. She talked a little bit about the Golden Girls. One thing she talks about on the show, she talks about how, the standards and practices was sort of like always on them about certain things that they could or couldn't say. And so she says that, in the pilot, and I know we've heard this story before, but Sophia's line, the man is a scuzzball, was originally written as the man is a douchebag, which like douchebag coming from Sophia Petrillo, douchebag would have been a lot funnier.
Yeah.
But they were like, no, you can't say douchebag. But what I loved about Bea's show is that she was almost like, oh, there's no S&P here. She's had standards and practices.
Yeah.
Follow her through Maude, follow her through the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
So her show was filthy. She was dropping F-bombs.
Yep.
She told a joke about a nun giving a blowjob to a taxi cab driver.
Yep.
She was like,
Yep.
fuck it, I'm not on network, baby.
She can do anything.
Oh, I love hearing B curse and be dirty.
Yeah. It's so, that's what I love. I mean, I've seen so many shows like this of people that I love. Famously, Liza Minnelli, one of her last things, she did a thing, and I remember a moment when during the show she just said "mama," and you could feel every homosexual's butthole just go like you could feel it. And like Bea Arthur's show talking and her stories are kind of like that, in that when you're in that audience and you're listening and you're around the people that are also in that audience with you, you're all there for the same reason, because you fucking love this woman and you've loved her since you were a kid probably. And you know everything about her career, every song she sang, every episode of television she's done, the jokes, the references. So you could literally whisper something to the stranger next to you and they will know what you're talking about. And that is the power of sort of the stardom that was Bea Arthur and at these live shows and at the Broadway shows. And it's just, you gotta listen to this album. I mean, we wish there was like we wish there was a taping that was available of this show, because I would own that DVD. I would download it so I would have it in every digital format on every device that I own. I would just have it, because this, if you're a Bea Arthur fan, if you're a Golden Girls fan, this is something you have to listen to. You just have to.
Yeah, you have to listen to it. It's such a treat. It's such a treat.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. Well, and because we're doing Bea Arthur overload on this episode, and we're going crazy with a Bea love explosion, we have to talk to Luke. We have to talk to Luke about where Luke came up with this sort of Bea Arthur voice that he does, how he figured out how to make it a viral sensation that it is, and what he loves about Bea Arthur. I mean, the chat's amazing, and it'll happen right after this break.
Luke, welcome to Out on the Lanai. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm honored you guys asked me, so thank you.
You are the voice that has gone viral, Luke. You are literally every Golden Girls fan. I feel like you're the new voice of the internet Golden Girls community, because your Bea Arthur singing has taken the community, the GG community, by storm. So my first question is, how does it feel to be GG famous?
It's incredible. You know, the Golden Girls fan community, which I've been a part of pretty much my entire life, is an incredible community to be a part of. And there's so much love and warmth in Golden Girls fans, so much openness, and it's just incredible. And I'm feeling a little tiny bit of that, and it's really special.
I know we do like to give love, don't we, Kerri?
We love to give the love. And what's fun is, you know, obviously everybody knows you for doing your series, What Would Dorothy Sing at the Rusty Anchor, but people may not know that you have actually voiced Dorothy Spornak in the past on Cartoon Network, on Netflix. So like they've heard your voice as Bea Arthur in the past.
Yes, and I'm sure that the Cartoon Network lawyers would want me to say that that is a parody, of course, of.
So you were playing,
of Dorothy.
you were playing, Morothy.
Yes, exactly.
Where did it come from? Like, how did this sort of? I mean, I've never been good at doing voices. I can barely do my own voice well successfully. So, like, where did you discover that you could do Bea?
I think it came from just quoting her, because Dorothy is kind of my spirit animal anyway. And so I would quote her to my friends and family, and it just kind of grew from there. And then I learned about her Broadway work, and I'm, a huge theater nut. I've got a theater degree, and I started investigating her singing and stage work. And I actually got to see her one-woman show live. I was 14 or 15 years old, and I was the weird kid begging my dad for Bea Arthur tickets, which I think all my classmates were going to see, Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears. It was 2001, 2002, something around there. And I just gained such an appreciation for her work and wanted to try to pay homage to that. And it really all started with me doing a video called Broadway Impressions, and I sang the Petula Clark song Downtown. I don't know where I came up with that, but I did all these different Broadway impressions singing Downtown, and Bea was one of them. And the casting director from Cartoon Network saw that video and offered me the job, and that's where it all began, which is crazy.
That's so fun. I mean, well, just so you know, I feel like you and I are the same age, because I was also that 14-year-old going to see Just Between Friends and
Nice.
Seeing Bea Arthur during her touring. I saw it during the touring bit. I didn't see it on Broadway, but I saw it during the touring bit. Saw it twice, and it was life-changing, quite literally. Like, when you're doing Bea, when you're singing as Bea, do you feel like, because I mean, Kerri and I both come from the world of comedy. I'm not an actor at all. I'm a stand-up. And so like,
Nice.
when you're doing Bea, do you feel like you're being funny? Because there is a funny element to it. I mean, especially some of the songs you pick, like there's a funny element to it. Or do you feel like you're actually sort of like doing Bea?
I try to do B, as I hope that there's a lot of love and respect in my impression. I do try to put jokes in, and I try to never make them at B's expense. I'm trying to maybe tie in the Golden Girls and tie in references, things like that. I always try to keep it apart from B herself and tie it more to the characters she played. And it's really important to me to do that, because that's one of the things that kind of upset her about Golden Girls. And toward the later seasons, they started giving her, better plot lines where she was kind of the hero, or she was the center of attention. And because it always kind of bothered me. I was one of those people that, the jokes about Blanche, the jokes about Rose, they're about these characteristics that belong to their characters. And the jokes about Dorothy were more tied to herself and Bea Arthur, the person, and her looks and her stature and et cetera. And, so that always bothered me a little bit. If I had one critique of the show, that's probably the only critique. So I'm sensitive to that. And I always try to distance anything from, making fun of Bea, but rather referencing characters, referencing the Golden Girls. Really long answer for your question.
I mean, critique. There's that critique, which I think is very valid, but also the empty nest episode. Let's be real. Like that has to be.
That was a big no.
High on the list of critique. Wait, where do you fall on that, Luke?
Oh, I agree. And it's such a shame, because I love Rita Moreno, and
I think
she's an incredible actor. And I torture myself with that episode because I'm such a completionist that I still do watch it. I know a lot of people skip it on their rewatches, but I never skip it. And it's incredible that it turned into this fabulous, amazing show spinoff. You would never think from that little backdoor pilot, as they say.
Yeah. So like a little bit on B. So like you love B. You love the history of B's resume, the career, the musical element of B, Fiddler on the Roof, like the MAME, like the elements of B that makes B who she became later in life, obviously. So like if you had to sort of choose, and we've covered a lot of Bea Arthur's career on this podcast, from Maine to just different things. And I want to know, what is your, like, outside of the Golden Girls, because we all know the Golden Girls is like first and foremost in our hearts. It's usually our entry into these four women. So like, what of Bea's career do you love? What's your go-to? What's the thing that you're just like, that goes after the Golden Girls?
Definitely her one-woman show. And, having attended it and having the cast album, it's something I go back to a lot and listen to. I also, it's just one episode, but I really love her episode of Malcolm in the Middle. I think that there's so much heart, so much humor in that episode, and really did an incredible job. And it's funny because I feel like every time she was guested on a show, they tried to get her back, or they tried to make her become a regular. And I know that there was talk of that. In spite of how the episode ends, I guess it's kind of open to interpretation. But and then the thing that I get requested most often, which I think is so funny because it was such a bit part, but everybody wants to hear me do the Femputer lines from Futurama. I get that. I get that a lot. I get that a surprising amount. Yeah, it must have really made an impact on people, that little cameo.
That's so funny. Well, I do know that one thing that people are going to want, they would come for us if we didn't ask you to pronounce some words that I think Dorothy is really known for pronouncing in such a unique way on the Golden Girls. So would you mind if I would you just repeat it back to me? We'll do a little call and response here as Dorothy. Luke.
This is English as a first language, but Golden Girls style for Kerri.
I love it.
Marguerite.
Marguerite.
Nailed it. Program.
You know what? I said it like that for years because of B.
I still do. Yes. I was on a professional interview with a celebrity that goes unnamed, and I said program. They were very confused.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I love it.
All right. We've got two more here.
Yeah, go ahead, Kerri.
Diaper.
Diaper.
And finally, government.
Oh, I'm not sure if I know how she pronounces it.
Ooh, I
Oh my
think it's
goodness, I'm
just in
embarrassed.
don't
No,
be
don't be.
embarrassed.
Don't
I think
be.
this is one that Elliot Glazer always notices and always points out, which is that she really enunciates the NM. So she says
That's what I thought.
government.
Government.
Okay.
Government.
Yeah. Also, there's another one too that is so, I feel like it can be missed, but there is a subtle weird way that she does it when they're all in the bed and the late night things are happening, and she says, "I have to get up for work early in the morning." And it's the way, it isn't so much the way she says morning, it's the rhythm of the
It's the yeah.
sentence in how she says it. So I want to know if you could also do that, Luke. If you could do that line from me
Yeah,
selfishly.
that's my favorite line. So,
Oh.
yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I'm trying to think how to get into it. Is it everybody shut up? I've got to go to work early in the morning. Is that the whole line?
I forget how does the start of the line go, Kerri? Do you remember? I just know I have to go to work early in the morning.
Okay, I'll just
Yeah,
say
let's
that.
do it. We'll do everybody shut up.
Yeah.
Okay. It's everybody go to sleep. I think.
Yeah, I think yes. I
Um,
know. I didn't think "shut up" would be a thing she would say. I don't know. Maybe
came
not.
it came to me right as I went into it. Everybody go to sleep. I've got to go to work early in the morning.
It's like she's in the room with us.
Oh gosh, thank you.
It's like she's a millennial.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
It's so true.
So,
There's a
Luke,
reason we love her so much.
Yes.
there is a reason we love her so much. We love her so
How
much.
much?
Luke, we'd love to learn more. So you're a voice actor. You are an artist of all trades. You're also a writer. You have a novel that's going to be coming out soon, Love in the Light. Can you
Ooh.
tell us more about it?
Yeah, so this is a gay musical romance, and I know that's probably sounds strange, a musical book. So the way I've set it up is characters break out into song on the page, and there is a fully produced and voice acted companion album so that you can listen to the songs as you read, or if that
Oh.
interrupts your flow, you can listen to them later, or not at all. You can imagine the songs. Um, but I'm really excited about it. So thank you for letting me talk about it. And the reason I think it's relevant is because I have cast my Bea Arthur impression as one of the characters in the book. So she plays
Ooh.
sort of a mentor slash matchmaker to the two young men. And I've written 2 songs for her. They're my favorite songs in the book. And I'm just incredibly proud of it and incredibly excited for people to read it and hear the songs. And it's set in 1939. It's about 2 men that work and live together in a lighthouse, and they kind of get thrown into this lighthouse as living quarters by their employer, and they end up falling for each other. And there's some false starts and some, little dramas and things that happen. But I wanted to write something that was really sweet, really affirming. I wrote the book that I wanted to read. I was looking for just this really sweet, beautiful, simple gay romance. And it grew from there into this. It started as a short story and grew into a musical full-length novel. So that's the book.
I love
what's
that. Have
coming
you
up.
considered doing a Save the McKinley Lighthouse telethon to advertise the book? I feel like that could be what was it? 555
555 easy.
easy. Yeah, that could be your hashtag. That's my hashtag.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Well, Luke, we're not done chatting with you. We're going to continue this conversation over at the GG VIP Club on the Rusty Anchor Happy Hour. But before we do the sign off for Kerri and I do our golden takeaways, I want to know, where can people find you on the internet? Where can people support your work? Where can people follow you?
Thank you. I've got a website, lukemcquillan.com. And on most socials, I'm Luke McQuillan. Some socials, I'm luke.mcquillan because I didn't grab it fast enough. But yeah, that's where I'm at. And if you want just one place to find all of them, it's lukemcquillan.com.
Yeah, and go over to the Patreon to listen to the rest of our conversation. We're going to be talking about the Golden Girls more. We're going to be talking about Luke's work. We're going to be talking about Bea Arthur more. Talk all
And
kinds of things.
maybe Luke will even sing a song for us as
Oh my
Dorothy's
God.
Bornak.
Oh my God.
I'd
I'm
love
so
to.
stressed. I'm so stressed because people singing to me stress me out. Oh my God. I'm so stressed. Yes. So go to the Patreon for all of that, but stick around because Kerri and I will be right back with our golden takeaways. And we are back with our golden takeaways, which is a nugget of truth or inspiration that you can apply to your life or the lives of our listeners. Kerri, what's your golden takeaway from this episode?
After listening to this album, which I listened to, by the way, while you and I both had very long days. You said you got like barely any sleep.
Yeah.
I woke up this morning. I had to work at Little Oreo's preschool. I came home. She wanted to go ride a scooter outside for an hour. I was just exhausted. And Stan finally came home and I was like, I just need to go lie down for a little while. And so this is what happens when you have a child over 40, even though I'm
Yeah.
23. I don't know how that math works. And I went to lie down and this is what I listened to. I put a sleep mask over my eyes and I closed them and I listened to this album and it was such a joy. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it. So, my golden takeaway is that I want to see more actors in their golden years do more shows like this
Yeah.
where it's intimate. We get to know them. We get a celebration of their career. What are your favorite songs to sing? Like Morgan Freeman, Rita Moreno. Like, give me a show like that. I die to hear a chapter about the failed empty nest shit show. You know what I mean? Like, I want more. I feel like Bea Arthur set such a beautiful precedent of like, hey, here's a great way that you can celebrate yourself and get to know your fans.
Yeah.
And now I just want to see more of it.
Yeah. Along those same lines, my golden takeaway. So as we talked about, we both had busy days and stretch days. And I have a chat coming out with Kathy Bates. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, it comes out the next day. And I was editing that. I was listening to that audio and editing it. Well, I was editing just the audio part or the written part, the transcript. And I was reading over it. And a lot of times I miss, like when I'm interviewing someone, I'm so focused, I'm listening, but I'm also focused on sort of like what has to come next and how to wrap it up and make it all nice in a narrative. And I was listening to Kathy talk about her career, and she's obviously out with this great new show Matlock, and it just got renewed for a second season, and it's millions of viewers and it's doing very well. But she's talking about how she was in the interview with me, she was uncertain about sort of, and she was getting really vulnerable about sort of the possibility of her career ending. She didn't know if there was anything else out there for her, and she didn't know where she was going or what she was doing. And she saw this when that script came to her as an opportunity, not only that speaks to just good material, but also speaks to sort of where she's at in her career, being an older woman in Hollywood, being the lead of a show, being on billboards, selling this show at the age of 76 or however old she is. And like, it reminded me of Bea a little bit. I was listening to the Bea album while editing this interview, and I'm sort of having this moment of like, the things we allow to be done to certain women, particularly women in Hollywood, and the way we discard, I think, older women in Hollywood from either not casting them as leads in shows or not creating shows like Hacks or Matlock, etc., or the Golden Girls that allow women of a certain age to shine and be all of the things that they can be. And it was really poignant to sort of be listening to be so excellent and be so wonderful and be so talented in my ear while reading Kathy Bates talk about the struggles of getting to this place and being so thrilled that 10 million people watched the pilot episode of Matlock and again getting renewed for season 2. And just, it made me hopeful that like maybe we can be doing more of that for the women now, the women who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s now, and more so 40s, 50s. And when they usher into the 60s, 70s, saying, no, you still have value. We want you to lead shows. We want to see you on Broadway. We want to see you doing these things. The homosexuals and the women who are fandoms of niche communities like Kerri Doherty will be there, but we need
will
more
be
people.
there.
And we as a Golden Girls audience will always be there to amplify these women and to say we love you. But we need everyone to do that. And I think it's going in that direction. I feel it changing, but, hopefully more of it.
I agree. And
Yeah.
I would love to see more of that. And I think that's a beautiful golden takeaway.
Yeah. Go listen to my chat with Kathy. It's great. And she says something during it. Like she says a moment. It was so sweet where she midway through, she's like, I try not to be very sort of like, I don't want to give too much. And then she says, but except for with you, you're an exception. And she calls me out. And then at the end of the interview, she said something that sort of hit me where I asked her if she's ever going to do a memoir because I need her to do a memoir and that I'm ready to help her write it. And she said that I'll let you know, buddy. And like, it's just Kathy Bates. And that's I've talked to her many times now, but like, yeah.
Oh, okay, you have. I was going to say, well, I know we've talked about Kathy Bates a ton on this podcast.
No, I've talked to her a few times now, and I always will show up for her and everything. But she's an example of a be-like character that's like, we need to celebrate women like her because, you know, and even she says in the interview, which I think is so poignant, and Bea definitely can relate to this. Not everyone can be the movie star beauty 6 foot tall blonde person, and we need to celebrate all of the different types of leading ladies that exist in the world. And I think Bea and Kathy are definitely examples of unique leading ladies that are talent first, stardom second.
Oh, I think that's beautiful. That is a beautiful sentiment to go out on here on this episode of Out on the Lanai in 2024. Thank you all so much for listening today. Remember, you can check out the GGVIP Club at patreon.com/Golden Girls Podcast. And you can also follow us on YouTube where we drop video versions of every episode the Monday after they come out.
Yeah.
And who are we a part of again? This podcast? What network are we a part of? It's beautiful.
A part of
Is it Dad?
No, I think it's Mom. Yeah, it's definitely Mom. Moguls of Media. So go subscribe to Mom Plus and support all the podcasts at Mom. And you can also find us on social media at Golden Girls Pod on Twitter, Out on the Lanai Official on Instagram, Golden Girls Pod on Facebook. I'm HAlanScott / Sadie Pines on everything. And I want to give an Instagram shout out to Golden Girls Moments as well, because they're a fantastic Instagram account. And I do enjoy everything that they do and post.
I love them too. Golden Girls Moments and Shady Pines Ma. Those are
them
two
too.
very,
I
very
love
fun
Shady
ones.
Pines.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. There's so many good Golden Girls accounts on
So
Instagram.
many good Golden Girls accounts. Find them all.
All of
and
them.
I am Squid, Eat Squid on Twitter and Squidsy on Instagram. And if you also want to do something nice for the podcast, you can leave a rating or a review because it helps people discover us and join our lovely community of kick-ass Golden Girls fans.
And remember,
as always, stay.
Wait, we should say it like Bea. We should say it like Bea. Yeah. And remember,
as always, stay golden.
Stay golden, maestro. I can't do it. We need Luke back for this.
We need Luke back, yeah.
We need Luke. We need you, Luke.
Out on the Lanai is not endorsed by Whit Thomas Harris Productions, Touchstone Television, Disney, or any of its subsidiaries. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only.
All names, pictures, audio, and video clips of the Golden Girls are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.